I have a crush. A secret crush. One I dared not tell my family. I'm Lois Duncan, a junior in college with a major in art, specializing in airbrush. I was the baby my folks had when they swore they wouldn't have any more kids. I've had the crush for almost a decade, though I didn't know it was a crush until I entered high school, and began to realize that what I was feeling was different from my friends. I felt about guys like my friends felt about girls. I was gay, and very much in the closet. I have a crush that I have never been able to talk about. His name is Kyler Jacobson, my brother's best friend. Being gay is not tolerated in my family. My uncle is gay, and my father never forgave him for coming out. They also haven't spoken as long as I've been alive. My manly father only loves people who do manly things, meaning sports. Dad played pro football back in the day for a team in LA. Mom was one of their professional cheerleaders. Then there's my siblings. My sister, Jeanette Duncan, is 4 years older than me and did track and field in high school, and she still runs daily. Her live-in boyfriend, Elliot Samuels, was on the swim team that won the National Swimming Championships, and he's being scouted for the Olympics. My brother, Tim Duncan, is 3 years older than me and played football in high school and college. His wife, Olivia, practices yoga. Dad and Mom are proud of all of them. Then there's me. Dad doesn't consider art to be a manly thing, or comics, or anime, which means the rest of the family doesn't think I'm manly either. I suck at everything Dad and Mom and everybody in my family thinks is important, like sports. My folks never attended one of my art shows and never congratulated me when I was accepted into the university fine arts program. They never cared when one of my pictures was featured in Online Graphics Digest and went viral. When I was 17, my family made fun of a gay character on TV. I realized then that they would do the same to me. When they made fun of a gay guy on my brother's college football team, I realized I didn't have the courage to stand up to my family. I didn't feel safe with them. Whenever they became sarcastic about anybody LGBTQ, I voted with my feet. I left. Which is why I got a job working at the university bookstore and moved into the dorms. In case you hadn't noticed, I'm non-confrontational. If I don't like a situation, I'm out of there. I learned that you can never change my family's attitude, but I can remove myself from them. My family must never know the truth about me. I've never told them I'm gay. I'm too scared of them. I don't trust them. I'm afraid of them. I don't feel safe with them. Only people I trust know the real me, and I don't trust my family. Someday you'll have to tell them, Bob said. Saturday morning, we were cleaning our dorm room while talking the usual crap. I had a 500-word art history essay due Tuesday about the contributions of Brunelleschi to Renaissance art and how it translated to modern art, and needed to start writing it today. Well, Bob had to camp out at the library researching Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu for his comparative literature class. Written in 1871, it has the distinction of not only being the first vampire novel. It was published 26 years before Bram Stoker's Dracula, but Carmilla was the first lesbian vampire. Pretty risque stuff for the time. My family had never been to my dorm room. Even when I asked them for help to move, they had gone to a tailgating party. Good thing I have friends. I filled the garbage can with our empty Red Bull cans and said to Bob, "You're lucky. You could be from Zeta Reticuli and your family would still love you." "So now you're comparing me to one of the aliens?" he said. "A nice one that doesn't rip your face off," I said. "No such thing," Bob said. One thing I liked about Bob was the way we both shared a love for sci-fi monster movies. We both were gay, but we set boundaries because, We didn't want to spoil our friendship. We did tell each other about all our extracurricular activities, and in great detail. My phone buzzed with a text from one of my friends, Mackenzie. He's a little bit older than me, and an amazing painter. His text said, "News crew coming to the hospital tomorrow to film us finishing up. Smile, we'll be famous for 3 minutes. Get there before 8. "Who's that?" Bob asked. "Mackenzie," I said. "We finish the hospital mural tomorrow morning." "How are you going to do that when I rip your face off?" Bob said, and threw his pillow at me. I blocked it, screaming, "Face hugger," and accidentally knocked the pillow into my art supplies, and while I was distracted, Bob tackled me. We were wrestling when my phone rang. It was my sister, Jeanette. "Hi," I said, laughing a little as Bob got off me. He always won our wrestling matches because he knew every ticklish spot I had and wasn't afraid of using them. "You okay?" she asked. "Just cleaning the place," I said, though it didn't look too clean anymore. "What's up?" "Family party tonight," she said, her voice hyper with excitement. "Big announcement, too. We're doing a potluck. What can you bring?" "Chips and salsa and shredded cheese," I said. "Do you always have to bring that?" she said. I chuckled. "Hello, your brother is a poor college student, so of course I'm going to bring something cheap. What time?" "Dinner time," she said. "We've invited several guests." "Tonight's a big deal?" I asked. "The biggest," she said, almost giggling. I worked on my essay until I had to report to the university bookstore. It sells a lot more than books, like art supplies and simple groceries and tons of energy drinks. They're pretty flexible about scheduling working hours around my classes, and I get an employee discount from whatever I buy there, like chips and salsa and shredded cheese. I arrived at my parents' place a few minutes before 6, pulling behind a Ford F-150 truck I'd never seen before. It was so new it still had the registration paper in the window. Who bought the new truck? My car is a 7-year-old, very dusty, dark blue Toyota Prius that I always forget to clean. Normally, it can seat 4, but now it's only 2. Don't look in my back seat. You won't survive. I carried my grocery bags to the side door and rang the brand new doorbell cam. Dad's into cameras because above my head is a swivel mount camera, and he has another 2 trained on the driveway. A few years ago, when Dad's fancy endorsements ran out, he got a job at a home security company. He tests every device out at home. My sister-in-law, Olivia Duncan, opened the door for me, and her eyes bugged out of her head before giving me a quick hug. "Get me some sunglasses," she said. "You've dyed your hair bright orange. It looks like your head is on fire. Why?" "I'm a crazy college kid," I said. Did I forget to mention that I've dyed my hair fluorescent orange? When the group of us artists go out and volunteer to paint something, we dye our hair. It's kind of like our trademark. Personally, I rather liked it when we dyed our hair pink, Marisol's favorite color. That's another story. Sad one, too. Olivia helped me set the bags on the kitchen table, and I hunted for bowls for the chips and salsa. At least half of Mom's bowls were in use. How many people were they expecting? "Be on your best behavior," Olivia said. "Elliot brought his parents so both families could meet each other." "Elliot is my sister's boyfriend, right?" I said. "Have we met him and I forgot?" "You and me both," my sister-in-law said. "It's getting so we need to post a list of names on the fridge. And no, I don't think any of us have met him." "They making the daughter-in-law do all the work again?" I asked. Olivia's sarcastic chuckle was the only answer I needed. Quickly, I said, "Put me to work." "Thank God there's one adult in the family," she said. I chuckled. Me? She considered me an adult? Ha! 15 minutes later, we joined the others. Mom and my sister, Jeanette, were at one side of the big family room cooing over Tim and Olivia's 1-year-old son. Dad, Tim, and Elliot, Jeanette's boyfriend, were at the other side of the room focusing on a basketball game on the big screen. My brother noticed me and yelled, "Look at the dorky match head, everybody. Mom, Dad, is it too late to take Louis back to the adoption agency and trade him in?" My sister Jeanette whipped around, stared at my head, and marched up to me, almost screaming, "What did you do to your hair? It's horrible. This is my night. How dare you try and steal it from me?" Whoops. What did I do? A look from an older couple I didn't know silenced my sister. For some reason, the woman had her phone out and had been filming. Jeanette gave them a polite smile and backed away from me. They must be Elliot's parents. I nodded, trying to be polite, and they nodded at me, giving me a friendly smile. I made a goofy bodybuilder pose and they took a picture of me. "You're just like our other son, aren't you?" the man said. "If he's the other best-looking person in the room with orange hair, we could be twins," I said. "I'm Louis." "My weirdo goofball loser of a brother," my brother sneered. "You still reading comics and drawing stick figures?" I resisted the urge to flip him off. This was supposed to be a family gathering. Time to play nice-nice. A group of family friends and a couple of cousins also watched the game, including Kyler Jacobson, my brother's best friend, my secret crush. I stopped breathing. I hadn't seen him for months, but my heart always fluttered when I saw him. 3 years older than me. Dark blonde hair hanging down to his shoulders. He wore a small silver cross in one ear and 2 silver hoops in the other. He wore a peach-colored t-shirt with a slim-fit gray long coat and slim-fit faded jeans. His gray sneakers matched the gray long coat. I wish I was that stylish. His tight shirt did nothing to hide the abs underneath, and more than my heart was fluttering. Clean, crisp, slim lines, he set the clothing trends back in high school. Like always, there was something intensely sexy about him. That's why I fell in love with him. He was friends with my brother, which is why I never acted on my feelings. My father does not agree with or approve of anyone gay. As if sensing me looking at him, Kyler looked up. He gave me a chin lift and a subtle smile. My heart and other various body parts began fluttering all over again. God, if only I had more courage. My only living grandmother arrived last. Everybody was now here. Whatever was going on was big. "Attention, everyone," Mom said, and lightly struck a glass with a knife. The ringing sound brought everyone to attention. "Food is ready. Time to fill your plates. Grandma, us, and Elliot's parents go first. Then the rest of you get to fight over the rest." I watched as my family piled the food high on their plates. I've never eaten as much as they have. Maybe that's why I'm still skinny. Finally, I lightly filled my plate with a few random things, leaned against the wall, and nibbled on my food. Kyler leaned on the wall next to me. "Long time," he said. My mouth went dry, and I asked, "What have you been up to?" "Just graduated with a bachelor's in computer science from the University of Southern California," he said. "But I'm moving closer to home. I have a job interview, and if the interview goes right, I'll be moving to St. George with a starting pay of 70 grand. I've already closed down my apartment in LA, and I've moved out of California." "Impressive," I said. "Where are you staying now?" "At your brother's place for a week," he said. "I actually have 4 online interviews I'm prepping for." "I haven't even thought," I said, "about what I'll do after college." Kyler went quiet a moment, and then he asked me, "Just like years ago, you keep looking at me. Care to talk about it?" I didn't sense anything mean about his question, but before I answered, my sister stood up. She held a large gray balloon in one hand and a large gold pin in the other, and said, "Everyone, I know you're curious about such a sudden meeting, but I wanted to share my happiness. It's a little sudden, but Grandma, would you do the honors?" Grandma gave everybody a huge smile and squealed, "Does this mean you're going to have a baby?" My sister nodded and handed Grandma the pin. Grandma touched the pin to the balloon. Pop! Pink confetti showered the room. Elliot, grinning from ear to ear, said, "We found out yesterday. It's a girl." My sister, with an equally big smile, showed off her left hand. The ring finger had a diamond engagement ring. "Elliot proposed. It's official. We're going to be married before our baby is born." For a second, it was pandemonium as everybody shouted congratulations. Dad was proud. Mom was prouder. But Grandma exclaimed, "A second grandchild? Bless my soul. And it's a girl. Have you decided on a name?" Elliot, the proud father, wrapped an arm about Jeanette and said, "We've narrowed it down to about 100. Grandma chuckled and said, "Next it's Louis's turn to bless the family with a marriage and children." The uncomfortable feeling of all eyes on me made me want to hide, but since I couldn't, I said, "Wait until I graduate, Grandma." And my brother, Tim, exclaimed, "You'll have to wait until Louis grows up into a real man." People chuckled. I didn't. "That will take about a century," Jeanette yelled. My family laughed. I didn't get the joke. "Here we go again," I said to myself. "It's about to get worse unless I leave." A little frustrated, but not wanting to spoil the party, I said, "Excuse me while I get seconds." While I was microwaving my plate of chips and cheese, Kyler joined me. "Your family hasn't changed. You shouldn't let them pick on you. Let's go outside and talk." After I collected my plate of chips and melted cheese from the microwave and poured salsa on it, we went out to the deck. Dad had installed it years ago, along with a hot tub, but they seldom used it. Kyler and I took a seat on a bench, and together we nibbled the nachos. And after a bit of small talk, Kyler said, "I would have said yes if you had asked." "What do you mean?" I asked, heart pounding. But somehow, I already knew what he meant. He leaned in close and said, "You might have fooled your family, but not somebody dealing with the same fears you were dealing with. We were both in the closet and too afraid of our families to do anything about it." Shocked, I finally asked, "How did you figure it out?" Kyler took a deep breath and said, "You did the same things I did, lying when needed, leaving the room when things got uncomfortable, making excuses, acting weird when you're cornered. I did the same. You might not remember it, but right after you graduated high school and before I moved to LA, I had come over to visit your brother, and I accidentally saw what was on your laptop. I knew your family would torment you nonstop if they knew, so I kept it secret. I wanted to talk to you about it, but it seemed awkward. Then I went to college." "Thanks," I said, "for not telling my family." Kyler stole a chip loaded with melted cheese and salsa and ate the whole thing in one bite before saying, "I accepted who I was once I got away, but for some reason it took a long time before I could tell my parents, and I don't dare talk about it with your brother. You know how he is." "You told your parents?" I asked. "A couple years ago," Kyler said. "I drove back home for Dad's birthday. I can't believe how scared I was, but the funny thing was, I didn't need to be scared. Mom and Dad had suspected for years, but they waited for me to come to them when I was ready to talk. That was the best weekend of my life." "I wish my parents were like that," I said. "Do you have anyone you can talk to about it?" he asked. "My friends all know," I said, and slowly blew a breath out as I relaxed. "I wanted to talk to you about this, but I was afraid you'd tell my brother, and then he'd tell my family. I was afraid of what would happen after that. Dad disowned his own brother for being gay, and you've seen how my family makes fun of people like us." Kyler laid his hand on mine, lightly holding it, and said, "You're preaching to the choir." "I fell in love with you back in high school," blurted out of my mouth. He kind of snorted and said, "We were both scared of our own shadows back then. I would have said yes if you wanted to go on a date. It would have had to be secret, but I think we would have had fun. And now? I asked. Adults have more fun, he said, giving me a naughty smile. The old longing wakened inside me. What are you doing tomorrow night? We'll be done at the hospital by 4 at the latest. Hospital, he said. I smiled, almost giddy, and said, why don't you come see? We sat close, our legs almost touching. Somehow, this soul sharing between us made the moment intimate and erotic. Only inches separated our face. We were so close that I felt his breath on my cheek. The blood pumped hard in my veins. The feelings that I had tried so hard to ignore for so many years jumped out of the closet. I wish I was braver, I whispered. Kyler gently rested his hand on my cheek, and the corner of his mouth quirked almost into a smile. He licked his lips. You don't have to be brave around me, he whispered. Could he see the rising passion in my eyes? I took a chance and rested my hand on his leg, expecting him to brush my hand away. Kyler slowly inhaled, and he placed his hand on mine. I flipped my hand over so our fingers could intertwine. His thumb rubbed the back of my hand. We leaned our foreheads together, softly bumping noses. His eyes widened, as did his mouth. This was so sudden, but I didn't want it to stop. Could he hear how fast my heart beat? We hadn't seen each other for a long time, but the desire between us was suddenly strong. I've learned a lot since those days, Kyler whispered. Like what? I whispered back. I slowly disentangled my hand from his, and, ruffling my fingers through the softness of his hair, slowly massaged his scalp. We've waited almost too long to talk about what really matters, I whispered back. You're not the only one who's had a crush. The words softly escaped from his lips. The time for words was gone. I'd wanted this moment for a long time. Kyler did too. Our lips chastely met, and our kiss was momentarily awkward. It didn't stop us. Kyler placed his hands on my hips, then under my hips, lifting me, drawing me closer. Somehow, I was sitting atop his legs. Our closeness became intimate. Our mouths relaxed into each other, and his tongue slowly traced my lips. The warmth of his body, of his mouth, invited me to be closer still. My lips parted, and his tongue met mine. Our kiss became a fiery meeting of lips, of tongues, of souls. Loosening his shirt, I kissed my way from his lips to his neck and gently nuzzled where the neck met the shoulder. He moaned and whispered, "Damn." The tickle of lust ran straight down my spine, and if we weren't at my parents' place, I'd start removing his clothes. He was excited. I was excited. The hollow feeling in my stomach told me how much I wanted this, but not at my parents' place. I softly, gently tugged on his earlobe with my lips. We rolled off the bench and onto the deck. It didn't take long before Kyler opened my shirt and kissed my neck. How would I explain this hickey to Bob? What if we stop for French fries before we get too serious? I said. My place is by the university. Why French fries? Kyler asked. With a flirty chuckle, I said, I'm always hungry for fries right after sex. He rewarded me with a huge grin and he said, Is that an invite? Let's order to go. It took a moment, but we reclaimed our composure and neatened our clothes. I couldn't wait to get back to the dorms. We stood, panting, holding hands, and took the now empty plate back into the kitchen. I couldn't wait to be alone with Kyler, and by the way he smiled, he felt the same way. My family were in the big room, laughing at something on the big screen. Some movie, I guessed. We should tell them we're taking off, I said. A soft, familiar masculine voice came from the TV in the other room. It would have had to be secret, but I think we would have had fun. Whatever was playing, my sister and mother started laughing as if it were the funniest comedy. And now, another familiar voice said, Adults have more fun, a voice said, but it sounded exactly like Kyler's voice. What are you doing tomorrow night? A voice that sounded like me said. We'll be done at the hospital by 4 at the latest. Hospital? Kyler's voice said. Hospital? My brother mimicked. Imagine Lewis dressed like a naughty nurse. My sister squealed, Look at what they're doing now. Whatever my brother said next, I couldn't hear because my family burst out in hysterics. Shush, somebody else said. What did Kyler just say? Oh no. Were they watching Kyler and I make out? Dad's security system was spying on us? I clenched my lips to keep from swearing. Kyler must have realized it at the same time I did, because he blushed a painful dark red, and his fingers tightened around my hand. Something horrible lodged in my stomach. Dad must have installed more cameras. Leading the way, I took us to the edge of the big room. We had a perfect view of the big screen, and how everybody inside the room had gathered around the screen. On the big screen was the security footage from one of Dad's cameras. The whole family, our friends, Elliot's parents, all were watching me and Kyler kiss by the hot tub. Dad had turned red, his eyes narrowing in fury. I could hear his thoughts from here. How dare one of my children be gay? My sister and brother and mom and grandma were laughing as if this were the funniest video they'd ever seen. Grandma made a comment. Oh well, Lewis won't give me grandchildren. What a disappointment he is. Guess he's off the wheel. My sister might be 3 months pregnant, but she was laughing really hard, and she held the remote. She rewinded the video a few seconds to replay the French fry scene. Something clicked inside my brain. I should have been angry or furious or raging. Instead, I was numb. All the feelings I had for my family died. How to explain it? I went from what I always felt about them. I loved them. The happiness I felt about my sister and Elliot's engagement evaporated. The fun times I had growing up with these people dissolved. It was like a whiteboard at school with all my feelings written across it. Somebody, with a single swipe, erased everything. My feelings and trust for these people were gone as if I never had them. It had finally happened. My family knew the truth about me and were making fun of me. Best to cut my losses and move on. Worse, they weren't just making fun of me, but Kyler as well. I held his hand, surprised at how cold it was. Kyler needed someone to protect him. I volunteered for the job and stood in front of him. Dad looked up and saw me. He uttered, "What do you have to say for yourself?" "Yes, Dad," I said, standing up to him. "I'm gay." "You're not welcome in my house anymore," he yelled. "You don't have to worry about that because I'm never coming back," I said. My brother laughed and spoke like he was talking to a baby. "Look at my little brother trying to act tough. Isn't it cute?" Just like I had always known. There was no talking to these people, so why bother trying? I was still holding Kyler's hand, and I whispered, "Time to vote with our feet." "What?" Kyler whispered back. I put a little more force into my voice when I said, "Time to abandon ship." The Kyler on the flat screen asked, "Why French fries?" And the me on the big screen said, "I'm always hungry for fries right after sex." I couldn't believe how many people were laughing at me. At us. Why did my family find this funny? Had they drunk that much? My sister couldn't drink if she was pregnant, so why was she holding the remote and laughing? She rewound it a few seconds until I said, "I'm always hungry for fries after sex." My sister must have looped that section because it kept repeating, "I'm always hungry for fries after sex." I had to give Dad props. The cameras he installed around the property were excellent quality, and they picked up even the subtlest of whispers. "Thanks, Dad," for humiliating me on the flat screen. I'm always hungry for fries after sex, the video said. That was hilarious, my brother said. Play it again, he started to say, but I think he saw me and Kyler. Turn it off, Elliot said. Relax, my brother said with a wicked grin. It's just Lewis. We always do this to him. I can't believe he's gay, but suddenly it makes sense. Why he could never keep up with us. Why he liked idiotic things like art and comic books and hated sports. You heard Dad. Lewis, get out of the house. Leave. And don't ever come back, Dad yelled. I lost it and yelled, I will hate all of you until the day I die. Why did my family start laughing again? I can't win with these people. Tugging on Kyler's hand, I led us to the door leading outside and opened it. My sister laughed and said, Bye, loser. I'll meet you at Gordon's Gourmet Burgers. We can talk there, I said to Kyler as we hurried to our cars. As we pulled away, me in my Prius, Kyler in the brand new Ford F-150. Olivia followed us. Lewis, she yelled. That was when I drove off. I arrived at Gordon's first and took a seat at one of their booths. I should have been angry, but really I was disgusted. I dreaded the day my family would find out about me, but I realized I'm already independent. I don't need the Duncans. F my family. I had my own life now, and I had a mural to worry about, and making sure Kyler was all right. While I waited for Kyler, I suddenly received dozens of texts from my family, no doubt rubbing the shame of tonight in. I deleted all the texts without reading them, and oddly, it felt good. Kyler and I talked all night, eating hundreds of French fries. Gordon's has the best fries. Kyler was more worried for me. I was more worried for Kyler. He asked me, Why aren't you freaked out? I thought for a moment and said, I've been expecting something like this for years. It's my fault, Kyler said. Kissing you felt right, but look at the mess. I'm sorry. No apologies, no regrets, I said, and laid my hand on his. Besides, I got to see you again, and this time we had a chance to talk. We should have opened up like this long ago, Kyler said. The fear got in the way, I said. Why don't you come over to my place? I have to be up early tomorrow, and I have a roommate who could come home at any time, so it's talking and sleeping only, but maybe we can figure things out. I'd like that, he said. It was 7 a.m. when we went to my brother's place to pick up Kyler's things. Basically, it was a suitcase, a duffel, and a garment bag, plus toiletries. The rest of his stuff was in storage. We rang the doorbell 3 times before Olivia, my sister-in-law, stormed out with a suitcase. I'm here to pick up my things. We'll be gone in 15, Kyler said. I'll race you to see who leaves first, Olivia said, and dumped the suitcase in their car. She went back for a second suitcase. What's wrong? I asked. She raised her voice so my brother could hear. Tell your brother to go back to his mommy and daddy. I hate living with a man-child. Kyler and I marched to the spare bedroom. While we were dumping Kyler's clothes in the suitcase, my brother walked up. Leave us alone, I said. Look, about last night, it was only a little bit of fun, my brother started to say. We'll be gone in a few minutes, Kyler said, coldly. Can't we talk, my brother said. We were a little drunk, that's all. Don't be so sensitive. While Kyler packed, I turned to Tim and said, Why would I want to talk to you? For my entire life, you, Dad, Mom, everybody in the family made my life miserable. I was afraid to talk to any of you. I was never good enough for you. The best day of my life was moving away from you. You're being unfair, he said. We were kids. Is that how you justify humiliating me last night? I said. Kyler spoke up. Tim, I'm trying really hard not to hate you, but you make both me and Lewis sick. Get out of our way. My brother took a step back. Kyler, we're friends. We've been friends since elementary school. Let's talk this out. Not after last night, Kyler said. You're a crappy excuse for a human being, I said to my brother, and I want nothing to do with you or the rest of the family. Consider me an orphan. I could see the wheels spinning in my brother's head as he tried to come up with an excuse. He finally said, "It was a joke. You know how we always joke with you. Don't take it so serious." "No," Kyler said. "It was sadistic and mean." And I said the last word. "Guess what? I no longer love any of you. Go F yourself." As we picked up Kyler's belongings and hauled them out to my car, I turned to Tim and said, "Tell the family they won't be hearing from me again. That should make Dad happy." "It was just a joke, so you have to forgive us," my brother said. "For Jeanette's sake, she stayed at our parents' place last night, and she's hysterical." "Why?" I dumbly asked. "After you left, Elliot asked her point blank that if this is how she treated her gay brother, what if their daughter turned out to be gay? Would she treat her daughter the same way? When Jeanette started crying, he asked her if this was why she wouldn't let him invite his brother and his husband to the party. That was the first time we'd heard about that. Dad exploded. Elliot exploded too and told Jeanette he didn't want to be married to scum like her or related to jerks like her family." "Then what happened?" I asked. "You know how his parents recorded the whole party?" Tim said. "Elliot said that they would use that as evidence to show Jeanette was unfit to be a mother and they would sue her for full custody. I've never seen anybody as mad as Elliot. That was when they left. Jeanette's been hysterical ever since, and now Olivia wants a divorce." "Good for her," Kyler said. "We don't forgive you." "It's not my fault," Tim said, "that you're so sensitive." "Call me stupid," I said, "but I used to be proud of you. Not anymore. This was the last straw. There is no going back. Kyler, can I change my last name to yours? I'm ashamed to be a Duncan." Kyler and I loaded the car, but Olivia had won the contest. Her and her suitcases and their 1-year-old baby had left before us. As Kyler and I drove away, Tim stood on his front porch looking like a 2x4 had slammed into his gut. I should be sad for him, but I wasn't. I dropped Kyler and his stuff off at his brand new truck, and I went to join Mackenzie and my friends at the hospital. The hospital mural we were working on was huge, the biggest one yet. The building has a 3-story atrium with one huge blank wall 20 feet wide by 50 feet tall, or thereabouts. Good thing there were 10 of us. Hospital security had already cordoned the area off, and we had already painted 2/3 of the mural over the previous 2 weekends. It was easy to tell who the artists were. We all had dyed our hair bright orange. Even Mackenzie's dad and boyfriend were helping. The painting was a design that Mackenzie had come up with, but we all added our input. An angel of mercy with rays of light blessing everybody near him. If all went well, we'd finish the mural today. Because airbrush was my thing, I got the compressor and the hoses lined up, my specialty paints mixed, and my templates. My job was the background, swirling clouds descending into a bright sunrise. Hospital maintenance had assembled scaffolding in front of the painting, along with ladders and buckets and a brigade of helpers. With the help of my friends, we fed the hoses up the scaffolding, and I got to work. An airbrush paints fast, but the needle in the brush that controls the flow of paint needs to be cleaned reasonably often to prevent the paint from splattering instead of spraying. It wasn't just us working today. The hospital volunteers threw a carnival. One of the parking lots had been cordoned off, and a bandstand and a dozen booths replaced the cars. For 8 hours, the local radio station and television station were giving away prizes, had their on-air personalities here. Today was a celebration. Several local bands were here as well. Leapfrog, Pixie with One Red Shoe, Jumping Pyros, 13 Hells, even Sterling Locke would play a set. We would be serenaded as we painted. Mackenzie, our leader, held a quick meeting, and then he said, "Let's get this done and go home because I hate press conferences." After an hour or so of painting, I had descended the scaffolding to clean the airbrush, when I heard, "Louis, they won't let me come over unless you tell them it's okay. I brought breakfast and coffee." I looked over and couldn't fight the grin. Kyler was there holding a box filled with sacks. Seeing Kyler made my world okay. "He's one of us," I told the guard, and Kyler joined us. We quickly kissed before I took the box and set it down. The other painters clustered around us to see what Kyler had brought, and I introduced him, saying, "He's kind of a boyfriend, kind of an old friend." "What Lewis is trying to say," Kyler said, passing around sacks of cheap burritos. "I'm the long-term crush. Do you guys need some help? I can't paint, but I can do food runs." "Don't worry," one of the other painters said, grabbing a cup of coffee. "We need lots of help." "And coffee," Mackenzie said. Kyler ended up being a gopher while helping me keep the compressor hoses untangled. About lunchtime, Kyler was fetching a bucket of water, and I was cleaning my airbrush for the 6th time today when a reporter approached me. "Do you have a minute for a few questions?" "Mackenzie," I yelled, "you're the leader." Mackenzie peeked over the top of the scaffolding and said, "Handle it, will you? I'm working on the eyes and can't leave." I shrugged and said to the reporter, "I guess you're stuck with me. Don't expect complicated answers. What's up?" "How about some introductions?" she asked. I pointed everyone out, and they waved when I said their name, including me and Kyler. "This is your 5th mural," she said. "Why would a group of 10 college artists paint these huge projects for free?" "Depends on the project," I said. "With the mural, Marisol's Angels, we wanted to give the children in the cancer ward a little hope. With the mural at the food bank, we wanted to show a little respect, maybe give the people who had nothing left something to live for." "And this one?" she asked. "We wanted to say thank you to the hospital. Wave, Marin." The girl climbing the scaffolding waved. Her brother was in a terrible accident. You can talk to her later for the details, but he had to have his pelvis and right leg pinned back together. Some doctors were afraid that they would have to amputate, but the doctor saved his leg. "Do all your paintings have a story behind them?" she asked. "All our paintings come from the heart," I said, "so each one has a meaning." About 1 o'clock, Kyler went out and brought back burgers and Coca-Colas for everybody. While we were eating, the reporter came back, but she had the director of the hospital with her, as well as the mayor of Las Vegas. They surveyed the almost finished mural. Mackenzie whispered, "Smile, everybody. Photo op." The camera person took several close-ups of the mural, and us. It was easy to see the painting now because the scaffolding was off to the side. We didn't need to climb up and down it anymore. Then the reporter and the mayor focused on us. I don't know what the reporter asked, but the mayor responded, "Sometimes we get caught up into celebrating sports, never realizing that when the event is over, the excitement fades. We go about our daily lives and soon forget. The sports heroes' names will be forgotten if the audience even cares to remember them." Then he gestured to all the artists with orange hair. "Take a look at what these fine people have painted. What they accomplished will last for decades and bring hope and joy that will last a lifetime. Once they sign their names, we will remember them, always, and the kindness they showed." The director added, "I wish to offer my personal thanks and the gratitude of my staff. Mackenzie and his crew are our heroes." I don't know about the others, but I appreciated the thought. As 4 o'clock approached, we hurried faster and faster. Many people had come inside to watch us finish. They might have come inside to enjoy the air conditioning too. The security guards had doubled, keeping the crowd away from our stuff. Finally, we were done, except for the signatures. Since we had painted in acrylic, the mural was already dry. We packed up our stuff. Kyler and I rolled up the hoses, and the camera person took live videos of each of us signing our masterpiece. Mackenzie held the Sharpie out to Kyler. "Your turn." "But I didn't paint," Kyler said. "But you were with us," I said. And Marin said, "You brought the coffee, which makes you the most important person here." Grinning, Kyler accepted the Sharpie and signed his name next to mine. Immediately after, Kyler and I held each other and quickly kissed. Had it only been a day and we were falling in love? With the help of some of the security guards, we took our supplies out to our cars. Both Kyler and I had our hands full. Kicked out of my family, connecting with my crush, finishing a huge mural. I don't think I'd ever been this happy in my entire life. Somebody cleared his throat. I looked over. Tim stood there with Mom and Dad, Jeanette with them, No sign of Elliot or his parents. Kyler noticed them as well. He asked me, "What do you want to do?" "Vote with your feet," I whispered. "Keep walking." As we walked past my family, Mom said, "Won't you even say hi?" "No," I said, and we kept walking. "Damn it," Jeanette said, "we came to apologize, so you have to listen to us." "I think you were perfectly clear last night when you kicked us out," Kyler said. "We don't have to be humiliated anymore." We were almost to my car when Dad said, "I'm your father. Stop and listen to what I have to say." I turned to face him and calmly said, "Mr. Duncan, you never listened to me for my entire life. You bullied me, insulted me, made fun of me, and now you've humiliated me. You were never a father. You failed. The rest of the family treated me the same way. You kicked me out of the family. After last night, I no longer love any of you. Mr. and Mrs. Duncan, take your two darling golden children and go home." Dad took a deep breath, and for the first time in my life, he started crying. "We're holding a family party tonight, a hot tub party, and for the first time in 2 decades, I spoke to my brother, even invited him to the party. He said he'll be there tonight. I had no idea that my bitterness had destroyed my family and that you hated us so much. I want you and Kyler to meet your uncle, and he wants to meet you. I've also invited Elliot and his parents, and most important, his brother and his husband." "You have to come," Jeanette screamed. "Why?" I asked. Kyler wrapped an arm about my shoulders, and in a voice that would chill glaciers, he asked, "So now you want to humiliate all of us at the same time? You're sick." Tim looked up, his face etched with pain. "Olivia left me and took our kid, and they're driving to Seattle. She won't even answer her phone. She was disgusted with me, with the family, with what we did to you. She demands a divorce. If I want to see my kid, I have to drive 17 hours every weekend, one way." "Maybe your kid will be gay," Kyler said. "Then you can kick him out of your family. Your problem's solved." "We saw you on TV today," Mom said. "That's why we came over. Louis, you do beautiful work." "You're about a decade late for acting nice, Mrs. Duncan," I said. "Let us apologize," Janice said. "Please, come home. Give us a chance to make it right." "If you come over tonight, Elliot said his family will come over too," Dad said. "Kyler," my brother said, "we were best friends for years. I had no idea you were gay. In making fun of my brother, I was making fun of you too. I'm sorry." Mom stepped forward to hug me, but I held an arm out to stop her. Making my voice as cold as I could, I said, "Keep your distance, Mrs. Duncan." A pained look crossed her eyes and she said, "Give us another chance. Come over tonight and meet your uncle. We'll do better." I looked at my dad and the rest of my family and said, "After last night, I don't love any of you. I don't trust you, and looking at you makes me sick. Know this, I will never forgive you and never forget last night. You aren't my family anymore." "Where is your sense of humor?" Tim said. "It was a joke." "Is that why your wife called you a man-child and is divorcing you?" Kyler said, putting our supplies in the bed of his truck. "Time to grow up, Tim." My sister screamed, "You have to come back. Elliot won't even speak to me, and I'm carrying our child. His family doesn't like me, and they said they're consulting a lawyer tomorrow about them obtaining full custody. Do something." "After humiliating me and Kyler last night, why do you expect us to care?" I said. "Goodbye." While my family watched, Kyler quickly kissed me and said, "I'll meet you back at your dorm. I think we need a little diversion. Didn't Bob say he would be at his folks' place for the evening? I'll pick up some French fries." "Make it extra large," I said. Epilogue. After a year of no contact, Mom accidentally saw me and Kyler at the grocery store. We'd gotten our own apartment by then. Unfortunately, Kyler didn't get the job in St. George, but he got a better one in Spring City, That's not far from the Vegas Strip. That night was the last time we were a family, Mom said, but she wouldn't look at me. Maybe it was my pink hair. And I want to rebuild what we had. Saturday night, how about a family party? We'll invite your uncle and his family, and Elliot's brother and his husband, and Elliot and Jeanette. You can meet the new baby. Elliot and Jeanette are talking again? Kyler asked. They were supposed to be married by now, Mom said, but they're in counseling. Elliot hardly speaks with us and won't let us see our granddaughter without constant supervision. Jeanette must prove that she's a better person, or Elliot and his family wins full custody of their daughter. What about Tim and Olivia? I asked. Tim started drinking. Their divorce is on hold, Mom said. Olivia refuses to come back from Seattle, and if Tim wants any chance with her, he'll have to move to Seattle. I might never see my grandson again. And Mr. Duncan? I asked. Mom looked at me as if I were from another planet, and she said, You don't have to be rude. We're your parents. After what you did, explain why I should consider you family, I said. An odd look crossed Mom's face, but she said, Jeanette screamed at your father. It was a nasty fight that lasted hours, and she said some pretty mean things. Your father is depressed and blames himself for destroying our family. That's why it's important you come over. We can get back together and reverse things, because everything has fallen apart. I looked at Kyler, and he shrugged. I lifted my left hand to show off the gold band on my ring finger. You need to know a couple of things, Mrs. Duncan. I have a new family. Kyler's mom and dad adopted me as both a brother and a son. They treat us as a family should. No bullying, no shaming, no humiliation, and no drama. I no longer have to look over my shoulder, constantly afraid of what you guys would do. I've told you we were sorry about that, Mom said. Mrs. Duncan, Kyler said, let me be blunt. Louis and I were married 3 weeks ago, and he took my name. We only returned from our honeymoon 2 days ago. You changed your name to Louis Jacobson? You two are married? You didn't invite us? Mom said. I only wanted people who I trusted at the wedding, I said. Let me give you a few highlights. Dad, that's Kyler's father, walked Kyler down the aisle, and Mom, that's Kyler's mother, walked me down the aisle. My best friend Bob was my best man, and Mackenzie and the painters and some of Kyler's friends were the groomspeople. Can you believe how wild the reception got? Kyler said, and chuckled. I kissed him and laughed. Artists know how to throw a party, that's for sure. We dyed our hair a rainbow of colors and had a cupcake tower in place of a wedding cake. I was the only person with pink hair. I liked the look, so I kept it. And no, Mrs. Duncan, we won't be coming over Saturday or any time. That night broke something inside me. I don't trust any of you. But that was a year ago, Mom said. You can't still be holding a silly little grudge because of that. If we ever see your silly little family again, Kyler said, we'll file a silly little restraining order. You do know that Elliot's mom sent us a copy of the video she took, and we had an interesting discussion with a lawyer. Don't worry about me, Mrs. Duncan, I said. I made a new family, one I trust. Goodbye. Mom paled. As we walked away, Kyler lightly kissed me on the cheek and then said, Mr. Jacobson, I think you look pretty in pink. I'm in the mood for French fries. That's the second time today, I said. Mom and Dad want us to stop by and show them our honeymoon pictures, he said. After that, let's stop by Gordon's Gourmet Burgers and pick up a couple orders of fries. Extra large, of course, I said. I held my husband's hand and resisted the urge to nibble on his ear. I smiled instead, and Kyler wrapped an arm about my shoulders. How did I ever get to be so lucky? I don't remember ever feeling so free and so happy. For the first time in my life, I felt safe. It was all thanks to the beautiful man walking beside me. The realization woke me up, and I couldn't stop grinning. With Kyler, I feel safe. Wow. Screw it. I leaned over and nibbled on Kyler's ear anyway. The end. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the end, and thanks for supporting my channel. I'm Gio, and writing gay fiction is my hobby. I just learned that one of my favorite authors, Daryl Banner, he's written a ton of gay fiction, has made it to the USA Today bestseller list. Congratulations, Daryl. He does an amazing job bringing his characters to life. One of my favorite books of his is Heteroflexible, but I've enjoyed all I've read. I hope everybody has a great week, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Peace.